Well, here we are, Mike. We are talking about prog rock. This is now the Progcast.
The Progcast. Oh, I like that. Okay, I had Prog Talk, but
Well, we gotta spice it up a bit. I was at a Baltimore Comic-Con today, and with a band, and had a lot of prog rock conversation, and that sparked this. So let's get into it. We always like to have the debate about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I'm not going to debate their list, and we did that already. You can go look it up on YouTube on the Buzzcast. But let's just talk about a band each or a person each that we feel like should be in there. So I'll start.
Okay.
I'm kind of surprised that Styx is not in there. Now, if you want to go with, are they rock and roll? Sure, they definitely are rock and roll. You can go back to this. There's a set called the Wooden Nickel Recordings, and that's their first 4 albums, going back to like 2005 when they were just schlubs out of Chicago. I mean, they weren't a big deal. They had a few songs that made it. That you can go back to and look at and tell that yes, they were prog rock. But like any band, they're going to have to change over time. They're going to have to make some money. So they did get a little more commercial, to the point where then Dennis DeYoung was singing show tunes. But when you go back to, Grand Illusion in 77, that's when I kind of broke in with Styx. And I think I saw them 78 maybe at the Garden, 79, something like that. Right. That album has a lot of great songs. Now, did some of them become commercial hits? Sure. Come Sail Away became a commercial hit.
Right.
But there's a lot of other songs, Miss America. There's a lot of other songs on that album that follow what we talk about. Now, even with that.
Yeah, I was going to say, because, Styx was a band, like, got to remember, I have an older brother, so, he was a heavy influence on what I listened to. And one of their early albums was called Equinox. Mm-hmm. I think it was around 76 or 77.
Yeah, 76.
Yeah, and the song that I gravitated towards was called Sweet Madam Blue, which is a fantastic song. And I'm sorry, they are one of the sort of American prog rock bands. Now they turned into much more pop when they started doing Come Sail Away, the Grand Illusion, but Crystal Ball is sort of a prog song.
Prog song.
Right, but then you get into the Mr. Roboto, and then they drop off the cliff. But they're early.
That toy too.
Oh God, it is brutal. I mean, it's like Love Beach for ELP. There's these. I think
it's better than Love Beach, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and there's a certain point where they just reach the cliff and they jump off of it, and Mr. Roboto was that.
Actually, 75 for Equinox. So
75. Okay, yeah.
So so then you go to Pieces of 8 album, and that's one that people don't really know. And it was a mixture of some pop songs or poppier songs, but it also had Renegade on it, which, again, I loved Renegade right out of the gate. But it, again, a lot of the lemmings in the public eye didn't even know that song until all of a sudden it was on whatever TV show it was on. And then, no, it wasn't a TV show. It was the Steelers would use that after a victory. And so they used it and then all of a sudden, wow, Renegade's a great song. And it's like, it always was a great song. And there's another song on that album that's a good prog song. That's like a 10-wheeler going by. Blue Collar Man is another one of those songs. And so Styx has it in them. And actually, the Styx that tours now is the hard rock version of Styx. They barely play any of the softer stuff. They'll play, they'll play Come Sail Away. They'll play a couple of those. But mostly they're playing Tommy Shaw stuff.
Yeah.
And so
and the thing is, the thing is that I'm there are two schools of thought on Styx. There are people who love Dennis DeYoung stuff, and there are people who love Tommy Shaw stuff. And I happen to be one who likes both. But Dennis DeYoung stuff is the more theatrical. You know, I mean, he didn't get dressed up in the Magog or the Slipperman costume. He got dressed up in a bow tie and looked like a barbershop quartet or something like that. He didn't get, so that was his shtick. But but there is sort of a Gabriel-esque type of like showman type of thing with
He's a showman, there's no doubt.
With where Tommy Shaw is just sort of the straight ahead sort of rocker, guitar player, high voice, and I like both of them, but I guess they rubbed each other the wrong way at a certain point. And now, now DeYoung has nothing to do with them, and I think it's Larry Gowan who's the lead singer.
Larry Gowan's the guy, but EY is still there, and so there's a couple of original members still, and then there's a couple of members that have been touring for so long, they've been there like 10 years or more. So yeah. I think they should be in. I don't know why they're not. Who's yours?
Okay, now I had one who is already in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. This is not a progger, but I'll give a progger too. But
okay.
Ike and Tina Turner are in. They were nominated and inducted in 1990, but Tina Turner had a completely separate solo career and a very successful solo career, and she is a rock and roll person. She's not Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston was a pop star. And this is the problem I have with the latest class. I'm not going to go into it, but the Notorious B.I.G. and Whitney Houston, they're not rock and roll people, but we know now that they should rename it the Popular Music Hall of Fame if they're going to do that. But it's not. It's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So as long as it's that name,
Jan Wenner named it that because the Rolling Stone is sort of a rock magazine that sort of changed. So they're not going to mess with that.
Right. Now, Christopher Patton, who we actually have some of our hockey people in the chat here. And
because it's late.
Yes.
James Young, Jay, whatever. Somebody.
Right. But Christopher Patton in the chat says, thoughts on King Crimson. I also like both and agree with you, Mike. I says, well, okay, King Crimson, this is the thing, and I've made this point before. King Crimson is one of the most influential bands in rock. And not only I mean, if you search on YouTube, there's a video of Robert Fripp, and I think it's on YouTube, but it's an audio of him talking about apparently Jimi Hendrix, going to a King Crimson show in like 1969, being completely blown away and saying this is the best rock band and the best band in the world. And
there was definitely a time when they were so different that people just went crazy over them. And I saw them in the '80s when they came back with Bill Bruford,
right?
And I liked it. I saw it like on Stony Brook University on Long Island, and it was a great show. It was really interesting. Here's the thing: I look at it and I say, would Iron Maiden even be around if there was no King Crimson? Like, because they sort of had that vibe a little bit, even though they went in a different direction.
Right.
I feel some King Crimson in there. So I'm with you. I can't imagine why they don't get a vote. But here we are. Now, Tina Turner is an interesting one because, again, like I talked about earlier, sometimes you have to become a little bit pop to pay the bills. And certainly she's at Live Aid. I saw her at Live Aid, and she was out there with Bryan Adams. Yep. And he wrote that song, It's Only Love for Her, right? Now, that's on the borderline of being rock and otherwise. It's better than Tiny Dancer. I hate that song.
Yeah.
Whatever that of Private Dancer. Hate that song.
Right.
Private Dancer, that's Elton John. That's
all right. I'll actually embarrass myself, and I don't care because I love the song. The song that she did for the Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, We Don't Need Another Hero, is a phenomenal song.
That's not a bad song.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Now the only problem is like, I went on YouTube to download the song, and the only one I could find was like the 9-minute extended version that had basically
there was one.
Oh, it's the thing is I have to fast forward through it because I have to find the single version, which was like 5 minutes long, and that was the video on MTV because all they had was like the extended dance remix, and I'm like, I don't really need to hear the theme music over and over like to take up 3 verses. But anyway.
And what I think about when I think of Tina Turner is the Rolling Down the River song. She did that so many times with so many different bands, on so many different shows, and that is absolutely a rock song.
Yes. But Whitney Houston is not a rock and roller. Sorry.
Yeah, I look. I mean, they get into this mold where they feel like they have to have every genre represented, and that's fine. But then why did you call it the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Right.
Like, you should have had some foresight and called it something else.
And I don't think I'm being like the old white guy and saying, okay, you
are an old white guy, but I get what you're saying.
I'm an old white guy, but it's like the thing is, it's like I have an appreciation for the masters of hip hop, but put them in the hip hop Hall of Fame, not the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Like, I would put it like this: when you build something like a Hall of Fame or a museum, you should always think about the future. Like, if you build the Edsel Museum, you know that it was going to be really limited as to what you could put in there.
I'll give you the sports example. Putting the Notorious B.I.G. in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is like visiting Cooperstown and asking where the plaque of Pele is. That's what I'm saying. It's completely different. It's a completely different sport. It's a completely different genre of music.
My last bit I'll say, since we've extended it, on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is just this. There are plenty of bands and artists from the 60s and 70s that have been waiting forever. Some have died. Some never even knew they were voted in. And now they're putting up bands from the 90s. No disrespect, but you've got to have a little bit more on the docket there, a little bit more of a string of work before we could put you in, or at least if I were voting, before I could put somebody in. If you're from the 90s, like, come on.
Yeah, well, and some of the bands that we've talked about, ELP, Crimson, Procol Harum, bands of that ilk from the late 60s and early 70s, I think they should go in before. And I'm not saying Green Day doesn't belong in. I'm just saying before.
I get what you're saying.
Right, but bands like Green Day. But this is the thing I can't understand. A band like the Lovin' Spoonful, that really, I don't know how influential they were, but it was like, oh my God, we got to get the Lovin' Spoonful in. Or a band that had, I admit their influence, but how many albums did they have? How about Guns N' Roses? I went to college when Guns N' Roses, it's like, it was, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. It was, it was three big, the three big albums, and that was it. 3.
I mean, you could make them like the Sandy Koufax of the Baseball Hall of Fame and say, well, shortened career, but certainly dominant in their time, and they were. And I'm not a fan. I am a fan in the sense of what you're saying, and would vote them in. I just think, it's just. I'll tell you what the ultimate test is. You could do this with like your family member or friends. Just say, how many songs can you name? Lovin' Spoonfuls, I think I can name 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that may be two more than me.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, if that's the case, they probably shouldn't be in.
Yes.
So,
but,
I mean,
I don't. The thing is, though, I don't know how many people could name a King Crimson song other than "In the Court of the Crimson King," but I know I could name about 15. But
actually, right now, because I've been up for a long time, I would struggle. Because I'm not a huge fan, but I did see a concert, so I might come up with 1 or 2. England's in the title of a couple of them, so I could probably jog my memory and do that. But that's the thing. It's like you should be able to name like 5 or more songs before you even consider putting somebody like that on the ballot. But again, I think a lot of it's tied into who they can get to show up at the concert.
Right. And maybe the fact that the band had like numerous members and a completely different lineups with each
album. They did find Yes and all the members were there.
Yeah, exactly. So
all the members that they wanted to be there, like Benoit Davidson wasn't there, but hey.
Yeah, I'll recommend to anybody who's watching this, if you want to listen to something from King Crimson and say, oh my God, there you go. Starless, the song Starless from the album Red, which was a 3-piece. It was Bruford, John Wetton, and Fripp. And you tell me like that could be like up there in terms of like Rush and Cream in terms of 3-piece bands that were just powerhouses.
Yeah, and you know, there is something to be said about a three-piece band having that kind of impact and not being a pop band, because I know what people are thinking right now when I'm talking, and it's a difficult thing. So yeah, I might even go back and listen to that album, because I probably have not listened to enough King Crimson in my life.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Okay.
We're done.
All right. Thanks. Yep. That's it for, was it Prog Buzz?
Prog Buzz.
Prog Buzz. Talk to you later, guys.